Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 36 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League show. I am your host, the self-proclaimed FPL Guru, Alex Rex, and joining me today is my usual suspect of Scott Williams. Scott, how are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks, mate. Getting there.
Good. And a very special guest is joining us today, Mr. Geoff Belcher, who in 8 seasons of playing FPL has only ever finished outside the top 100k once in that period of time. Some say he's the actual FPL Guru, making his second appearance on the podcast. Geoff, how are you doing?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for that lovely introduction. Good to be back.
Yeah, good. Glad to have you. Thank you very much for coming on. Tom is still too busy and too important for us. So don't forget to follow us on all social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok and Twitter, All in Football Pod, on Football P, and then like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe as well to the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we have many views, but just not that many likes. So either people don't like the podcast or they haven't subscribed to it or logged in on their Gmail account. So give us some love and make sure you manage to like the video. So we'll start where we normally do, and let's have a review of the All in Football podcast mini league. And at the very top, we have one of our American listeners, Bikar Michael. Bikar with 104 points this week is our manager of the week. And he managed to get 104 points with this little troll Lucadinha still sitting in his left back position and getting -1. Well, I think it was on for 5 points for that guy before that point. A fantastic team. Henderson saving a penalty and his goal having some sort of like miracle. I don't even know what to call it. I was going to call it force field around it. It was ridiculous. Cancelo, James, Digne, De Bruyne captain. Well done on that pick. Saka, Son, Martinelli, Andres Pereira, Gabriel Jesus, and Ollie Watkins, who has gone from being a definite not an option to now being, well, still not an option, but a maybe moving forward. Definitely someone to take a look at. So that's our manager of the week. So congratulations, 104 points on top. He's on top of the league, ahead of Nicola Tomlinson, who's 1 point clear. No, slip of the tongue there. Mr. Paddy Madden in 3rd place, and then Barry Stokes in 4th. Geoff, not doing too bad. 7th place, equal with Mrs. Heather Howcroft. How does it feel to? How's your start to the season been? How have you been approaching this league season?
Yeah, good solid start. I'm enjoying it and just getting a feel for it really. And yeah, just trying to be a bit more flexible than other years where sort of last year I was locked into a 3-4-3 for about 25 game weeks and there's no good strikers and I just couldn't seem to get out of it. So I'm just trying to go with the good players, whether it means I'm playing some strange formation like a 5-3-2 or a 5-2-3 or something like that. So yeah, enjoying it. And yeah, I think it'll be quite a tough season with the World Cup, and then there's like the crazy fixture congestion with the Champions League coming, where I think after game week 5 there's midweeks every single week, so just maybe need to keep an eye on maybe on a stronger bench or getting sure starters in just to so that's sort of the main things I'm looking at really.
Nice. Looking at your team, we were discussing before the podcast started, you've got a Rashford shaped problem.
Yeah, ignore the bench as well for now. That's to be worked on. But
Colback, Greenwood, that way, it's. But we'll have a talk about what we think's probably best to do moving forward as well. For everybody, that is. Looking at the team of the week for everybody, and for the podcast, not for the podcast, for everyone itself across the board. 143 points if you did it. Gabriel Jesus, the top performer. Jesus, Watkins, De Bruyne, as was mentioned. Xhaka and Højbjerg, they always have a week, these guys. They usually score a screamer. Xhaka's wasn't a screamer so much, but well done. Jensen and me destroying Man United. Less said about that, the better. Rodrigo with 2 goals, stealing one off the line and getting another one. But he's the FPL's top scorer total so far, Rodrigo. We'll get your opinion on Leeds in a bit, Geoff. Veltman with 8 points, Jose Sarr saving a penalty from the much-owned Mitrovic and Cancelo at the back. So Gabriel Jesus with it was one of the most sold players last week, and he's already one of the most bought this week, and his price has gone up.
Sold by people that didn't watch the first game of the season.
Absolutely, 100%. Because he looked fantastic, and they obviously don't listen to this podcast either. Because quite clearly said to stick with him. So we're going to do quite a similar way of analysing the games and the teams as we did last week, but probably a little bit more granular about the teams that have they've got the best fixtures moving forward. So I'll put the fixture difficulty rating up on the screen for YouTube watchers. We've got Brighton, who are at the top, and I've done this to game week 8, by the way, from game week 3 to 8, because game week 8 is when the international break is. So generally speaking, it's going to be the most popular time to wildcard. So Brighton are top of the FDR. West Ham away is not an easy fixture next, but after that they have Leeds at home, Fulham away, Leicester at home, who are one of the worst defences out there, Bournemouth away, and then Palace at home. So they've got some really good fixtures. Followed by Arsenal, then Arsenal second on the fixture ticker, Brentford third, and then we've got Spurs quite high up there, even though they've got Man City away game week 7. Liverpool, Man City, and Chelsea. So those are the ones who have got the best fixtures moving forward. Pretty obviously the top 5 teams in the Premier League, and then maybe a little bit more surprisingly, Brighton and Brentford, the 2 teams that have battered Man United so far. So yeah, great start. But we're going to go through these fixture by fixture. So Scott, you were watching Villa Everton under the microscope.
Yeah, I were.
Talk us through it. What did you think?
Yeah, well, again, game of two halves, really. I mean, Villa overall over the 90 minutes were the better team. Absolutely no question about that. I must say I was impressed by sort of Watkins, 2 assists there. He could have had another couple. He had a couple of chances himself that game where I think he did the analysis on Match of the Day. A more informed, confident Ollie Watkins gets himself a couple of goals in that game as well. For me, it should have been more comfortable. But last 20, it was a different Everton team. Onana came on and really changed the game for Everton, I must say. The new signing from whoever it was, they've signed him for a lot of money, young lad. And he kind of reminded me of, a good Paul Pogba when he came on. I was really impressed with his strength in the middle. Don't get me wrong, he lost the ball and Villa scored the Buendia goal. But it was him that got the own goal from Digne. And overall, I was really impressed by how he looked. Villa, again, I think we all had high hopes of them at the start of the season. That was a much-needed win for them. But, yeah, I think the player that did impress me assist-wise was Watkins. And if he can start scoring, I certainly want to keep an eye on because he did look, his movement in that game, it was good. And then so we do fantasy football draft. And someone I've got in that is Coutinho. Now, I'm very, very tempted to take him out for Buendia. Because Buendia, my days when he came on, he was the best player by far on the pitch. And Coutinho did nothing, absolutely nothing all game. So, I think an interesting one for any Coutinho owners that might be out there. It might be sort of potentially keep an eye on that. Is he going to play next game? I think he will. But if Buendia plays like that, exciting. Very exciting.
He's subbed off both times, isn't he, Coutinho?
Yeah.
Like when things haven't been going right for
yellow
Villa,
card in the 59th minute. Yeah, good times.
Really
0
good for
points.
but he's got to be the one that's on the edge here. I think. I mean, from exactly what you've said about Buendia as well coming on, and one of the key questions I've got. Watkins has gone down 7.4 million now as well. I think looking at their fixtures moving forward for Villa, Palace away. Never an easy place to go, Sellers Park. And they've got West Ham, Arsenal, City, and Leicester. So they're not going to be a team that anyone's going to invest in right now. I wouldn't have suggested. But at the same time, players to watch are important. And the question about Leon Bailey as well.
Yeah, I think if you've got Villa players, you're looking to sell now, aren't you? Bailey and Cash are probably the main 2 that people have got, haven't they? And with those fixtures you said coming up, I'd be absolutely looking at getting Bailey out for, I don't know, a Neto maybe, someone along those lines. And yeah, get Matty Cash out because those fixtures are horrendous coming up.
One of the moves will be to probably Brighton or Brentford players, which is what we'll have a look at with because they've got good fixtures as well. And it's difficult because Bailey's now gone down to 4.9. There's not really that many options in the midfield. Pascal Gross, obviously, for Brighton. We'll touch on Brighton a little bit more in a bit, but Sully March at 5 mil. Like everyone's just probably maybe a tiny bit too expensive to go a direct move if you've got nothing in the bank. Brentford have just got the obvious play, which is Josh De Silva at 4.6 mil. He's the one where you can go to him, save a little bit of money. But I do worry about his minutes with Damsgaard coming in. That's the only thing I will say, because he's obviously been bought to play in that role. So we'll see.
From what I've heard about Damsgaard he's nowhere near match fit at the minute. So I think he'll be coming off the bench a lot. But yeah, I think Josh Silva's. I mean, it's only 2 games in, but my days, he's looked good and his returns have been incredible. So yeah, there's no surprise that he's gone up already to 4.6.
It's a pretty easy move. Geoff, what do you think of that? What have you made of Bailey more? Obviously, we'll touch on the Silva in a bit, but all what we've just discussed.
Yeah, I think Bailey's just too much of a risk now, isn't he? I don't think he's going to get enough game time, so I'd be looking to move him on. And then the Damsgaard thing that Scott said, I think the quote was something like he was shocked by how hard the training was, so I don't think he's quite ready. And De Silva's, you see Thomas Frank at the end of the match sort of doing the name thing on De Silva, and he loves him, so he'll probably get a bit of game time. So not a bad option if you've got a 4.5 man on your bench, or 4.7 now, isn't he? But
he's a 4.7, gone up twice now, hasn't he? But yeah, I think a Bailey to the Silva move, you get to pocket point 2. It makes sense if you've got a transfer to use. I think some of us might be looking at banking transfer. That's something I might be considering this week. Scotty, anything to say on Everton?
I mean, 4 million defenders. Parsons playing, isn't he, every single game? And I'll be honest, yeah, he's actually impressed me a little bit when I've watched. Is it Nathan Patterson, isn't it?
Yeah.
At right back, fair play. He looks all right, and I must say, when they sort of tweaked formation a bit, when they put Rondon on and played Gordon in his preferred position, which is one of those wide sort of attacking players, he's so much better out there. He's not a number 9. He's not a false 9 number 9. He's one of those players, and he looks so much better coming off the wing. But not too much to say, apart from how is Anthony Gordon worth like 50 million?
Well, if Morgan Gibbs White's worth 44.5, then Gordon's worth 90, isn't he?
I must be worth at least 20 quid in a packet of quavers then, surely, because some of these prices are frightening.
You're worth a lot more than 20 quid, Scott. Geoff, you were paying really close attention to Arsenal-Leicester. Talk us through it. What a game.
Yeah, Arsenal look brilliant, don't they? They started pre-season well, and they've just started the season really well. Sort of 2 games that could be banana skins, but they've beat a good Crystal Palace side, and then I think 4-2 flat as Leicester. Really, they hammered them. Jesus tormented them all afternoon. It was a strong Leicester team as well. They went 5-3, 1-1, and it was really good players on the pitch, but Arsenal just created so much against them. It's like a left lopsided attack where I think the right side's sitting in. So Xhaka's getting forward, Zinchenko's getting forward, Martinelli. That's why Martinelli's doing miles better than Saka. He looks more further up the pitch, where Saka's sort of tucking in a bit. And then Jesus is just in there, loves being the main man, and did really well. I think saw a stat, he had got more expected goals than 17 of like full Premier League teams just on his own in that game. So he just was involved so much in the attacks. And the keepers didn't look great to me in that game. Ward looks really shaky. He doesn't look anything like Schmeichel yet. And the way he flapped at the cross, and Ramsdale as well. I thought Arsenal did really well, but he could have given away a penalty. And then the goal Madison scored, he let that through his legs as well. So a little bit shaky there, but I think they look really good, Arsenal. And they've got the 2 promoted teams coming up, Bournemouth and Fulham, and you think that's another 2 wins. They'll be on 12 from 12, and they could be really good point scores for FPL as well.
I want to know the last point where we sat here with a legitimate saying that an Arsenal player is going to be a captain next week. I think it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Jesus is absolutely an option. It really is moving for this week. And looking at the statistics, you couldn't be more right, Geoff. They are a very lopsided attack. So even when I was looking at the heat maps, Saka's doing a lot more defensive work than Martinelli is in terms of where they're playing and touch maps. And then when we're looking at the expected points and the XGIs and expected assists, etc., top expected points for Arsenal, Jesus, Martinelli, and Zinchenko. So pretty obviously these guys are the ones that it's all really working for, and we should be working towards bringing into our fantasy teams. I got one question: was Jesus now a must-have?
Yes.
Yeah. There was one was thrown at me. Definitely time to double up on Arsenal attack if you can possibly do it. Their fixtures are brilliant. They've got the best players. You still can't fully trust the defense. I couldn't agree more with you, Geoff. You get a bit outspoken about Ramsdale at times, but I still think he's just like Pickford's slightly younger brother sometimes. Like, he can be unbelievable, but then he has it in him to just give away a penalty, which he didn't, to be fair, but then have one go through his legs and just look a bit shaky.
It's like we said in game week 1, though. I said I still don't know how Arsenal kept a clean sheet that game week. They've absolutely got a couple. They're going to score more than they concede in games, and that's how they're going to win games. I know that sounds like a Michael Owen statement, but I can't see him at the minute keeping too many clean sheets. Might change with Tomiyasu maybe coming back into the fold. I don't know who that's going to push out. I don't know if Ben White's then going to knock someone out, but yeah, I don't think they're looking too solid at all at the back, but they're looking as good as anyone going forward.
I guess Bournemouth next is the one thing that they haven't got that much going forward, hopefully.
I thought it was one thing that shocked me was I was looking at expected goals conceded, and they were level with Spurs. So they were still equal second for the best defense in terms of expected goals conceded, and obviously doing well in clean sheet. So the quality of chances they're giving up, according to the statistics, doesn't look that great. But actually, when we look at the eye test, which is why it's so important, I listened to a podcast recently where a guy was banging on about what is the eye test anyway? It's blah. Isn't it just a culmination of all the stats that you end up getting at the end? And I couldn't think of anything more nonsensical. Like, you have to watch the game to interpret it your way, to play FPL your way. And the expected goals conceded stat surprised me. I still won a game though, so yeah, surprised to keep a clean sheet there. And yeah, James Madison, if he doesn't get a move now, he'll probably get a move in January. But he's definitely trying to fight for his World Cup spot.
That's a club that if I'm a Leicester fan, I am really worried by what's going on with that club. They're not signing anyone. What is going on?
If they sell Schmeichel, Fofana, and Madison, and then don't replace any of them,
that's essentially the spine of the team, isn't it? So
yeah.
I think and it's not like they've got a poor chairman. Bloody hell, they're a rich club. They're in Europe. Are they in Europe? They're not in Europe this season, are they? Ignore that.
Not this year. They were last year, but they're not.
But you'd be thinking, it's a good chance to push on and get back in Europe now. We've only got league games to worry about in the cups. But no,
that's the. Go on, sorry, Geoff.
Some rumours about Tielemans, wasn't there, as well, and the midfield going, which that would
of
absolutely
course,
kill them.
Tielemans to Arsenal's been banging on about it for ages, haven't they? But yeah, I'd be worried if I was a Leicester fan, if I'm honest, as well. I completely agree with that. But Arsenal jump on them, get all over them. Next game was Brighton Newcastle, and very same old Brighton for me. Fantastic, basically dominated the game. Brilliant in terms of their as a team. I was let me just get that up as well in terms of expected goals. They were right up there, only breaking up fifth in terms of expected goals at 3.64. Better than Chelsea. The only teams better than them are Spurs, City, Arsenal, and Liverpool. Like they create chances, but they just don't always put them away. They're sorry, Geoff. I thought you were going to chip in then. Sorry.
No.
Sorry, Scotty. Go on.
I was going to say they did come up against an inspired Nick Pope this week. It must be said they can't play Manu every week is probably what they're disappointed about. And yeah, Sir Nick Pope, wasn't it?
He's just an absolutely classic FPL option. Looking at Brighton, because they're a team to potentially invest in moving forward. Briefly on them, when we're looking at the players that have scored the most points, Gross top of that list. Then you've got Sanchez, the goalkeeper. If you're looking at wildcarding right now between Raya and Sanchez as your 4.5 million goalkeeper, I'd have thought we're looking at the fixtures coming up as well. But the other defender as an option is Veltman. He has got 10 points so far. He's 4.5 million. Duncan Webster as well, both at 4.5. When you're looking at expected goal involvements, Veltman is the one who was playing further up the pitch. I know he's quite far down here, but he's the one who was playing further up the pitch than Webster and Duncar at centre half. But of course, they're threats from corners as well. But and any of them are good options. Pascal Gross, 5.6 million. Yeah, don't get me wrong. He's just like scoring against United. He takes some set pieces, so I wouldn't be investing too much time and effort into that. But still, good player, good pick if you want to put him in. Could deliver. Sully March is actually the one who's going under the radar a little bit, playing at right wing back, and his expected points were 10.5, and his XGI has been 1.4. So he should have had some returns by now. He's created one big chance as well. So if you wanted to get a 5 million midfielder in who nobody else is going to have on a weird gamble, why not? Why not Sully March for an example? But Danny Welbeck, hit all of his potential points have come from expected assists. He's been the person who's been most expected to deliver an assist and create a chance rather than actually put one away. His XG is 0.16, which is worse than Trossard. It's the same as Veltman and Webster. So they're a team. If you wanted to downgrade somebody, for example, Trippier, looking at Newcastle's fixtures moving forward, if you want to downgrade him, 5 million to a 4.5 to 0.5 somewhere else, don't look away from Brighton defenders. And if you wanted to get a cheaper midfielder in, there are good options that are slightly more expensive, but why not? Sully March. There's my hot take. There's my tip. And Newcastle, looking at the fixture difficulty rating, they've got City at home, Wolves away, Liverpool away, next three. Before they've got Palace at home, West Ham away, and Bournemouth. So they're a hard avoid for the next three. But then you never know. Get back on those guys. City, Bournemouth. No surprises. I think Haaland only had 8 touches in that game, was it said on Match of the Day?
Yeah.
He should have had 9 if Foden had squared the bloody ball. Like that would have been. That's such a. Guardiola was fuming about that one at the end, but he proved that he could do really well holding up the ball. He created obviously the goal for Gundogan. KDB, of course, the key man when these teams do these low blocks. He always is. I was really impressed by City actually, because normally I just find them really boring, but I think they just kind of threw the kitchen sink at Bournemouth and got it done. But boys, what did you think about City? Anything? Any takeaway about the watching that match back on Match of the Day?
I know there was only 8 touches for Haaland, but there's a couple where he was sliding in from like the crosses and the cutbacks as well, where he nearly got it, and that was the same the week before as well. So I think one time he's going to get on the end of a few of them in a game. It might be a hat trick or 4 goals if he's just stood there in the middle tapping them in, because they look really good, didn't they, in those areas?
Yes, I agree with that, Geoff. And they had 2 passes and one of them was kickoff. So non-passes that weren't kickoff was 1. And how many assists did he get? There we go. Perfect. That is returns, isn't it? That's efficiency. Like, I've heard a lot of people saying about Haaland and getting concerned about these 8 touches. But for me, it's like he's never going to be that person that gets on the ball like Kevin De Bruyne and have all these little touches like Foden. He is there for one reason and one reason only, is to put the ball in the back of the net. And like Geoff said, he's an inch away from sort of getting on the end of somewhere. So it wouldn't worry me at all that he's had 8 touches. He's absolutely staying in my team. And I thought City looked like amazing City. I think 4 or 5-0 that game was always going to be, wasn't it? Apart from not squaring it, I must say Mr. Philip Foden I found was quite impressive that game as well.
The statistics, I won't go into it too, we'll be here all day, but his statistics as well back though, he's definitely the most creative midfielder behind De Bruyne. The other man just to point out, just to bear in mind, I know you can spend a little bit more money on Foden and whatever else, but if you really are short and you want to go for a differential, Gundogan has got good statistics. He has scored. He is wearing the armband, which means a lot, I think, really. Bernardo Silva's been linked with all sorts of moves away. It feels like that midfield is relatively set for the next couple of weeks. Obviously, there'll be rotation. There always is in City. But if you are wanting to go for someone a little bit different again, Gundogan's a good pick. But City options, usual, has to be Cancelo. I think Walker offers great value at 5.1. And then you've got, if you can afford De Bruyne and Haaland, then happy days. But if not, then make sure you've got one of them. That's what I would say anyway, from Man City. And we're not going to even bother touching on Bournemouth because they're not going to be defined by that game, are they? City expected goals conceded 0.5 in 2 games. Basically going to concede 1 goal every 4 games.
I'm very happy with Edison being my keeper at the minute. Very
I
solid.
I would be as well. Yeah, you've got.
Like we say, he's not going to particularly get bonus points. We said that last season because he don't have enough shots. But you pretty much, you're almost guaranteed, especially when you play anyone but top 4 or 5, 6 teams, you guaranteed 6 points.
Fixture congestion as well. He'll play every game, won't he? So it's perfect for that.
I think he's a really strong option. But yeah, again with City, have one of their defenders, whether it be a keeper or whether it be a defender. If you can afford Cancelo, great. But if not, then you've got great access to the defence there with Walker and with Edison at cheaper prices. Aki's not going to keep his position forever, but see, Diaz has had his minutes managed actually at the beginning of the season, come off a couple of times. Jeff, dare I ask you about Leeds playing Southampton? What was your take on this game?
Frustrating one for Leeds, I think. Dominated the game and then went 2-0 up, and then just got that frail side where just let Southampton back into it with a few sort of flair players that came on and just a bit of poor defending and goalkeeping, I'd say. But yeah, Rodrigo's been in the right place at the right time, as you mentioned earlier. He's there to tap it in and score. But yeah, just frustrating one, I think. But yeah, wouldn't go anywhere near either defence. Both look really weak, and but Leeds' attack, getting some goals and assists from people regularly. Bamford's injury apparently isn't too bad, which is good. He went off after half an hour. So couldn't come back. And then there's Sinistera coming back as well. So I don't know what that impact that'll have on minutes. But yeah, it's looking all right, the attack. And just a bit frustrating, that one, I think.
That's down to Jesse, in it, that one.
Yeah, I think he left. He didn't make changes quick enough, I think. And then it's a hot day, wasn't it? And the energy was going. And yeah, just needed to change it around a bit. What
do you make of Rodrigo? Is the second most transferred in player this week so far, top scoring FPL player after the first 2 game weeks. I know they've got Chelsea next, but what as a Leeds fan's take on Rodrigo? What do you think?
He's not going to keep that up. There's no way he'll keep that. Look, he often looks a bit clumsy, and I watched the last pre-season game, and even though he scored a hat-trick, he didn't look great in that. And then I think Chelsea and Brighton, that'll be a test. If he comes out of those, well, then fair enough. I'll stand corrected. But I think returns will dry up. I don't think he's going to keep this form going.
I mean, I think he said it. He got a scruffy hat trick, and then he has got 3 goals to start the season.
So he's in the right
place.
He's in the right place at the minute, and he's got that now.
You've got to look at the goals though. Like the first goal in the opening day against Wolves, keeper should have saved it. One of them is absolutely robbed from someone, Lorente or someone.
Strike, what a
strike.
There's a header from half a yard, isn't there, this week as well?
Don't get me wrong, you do need to be at the right place at the right time, but you do need to look at how goals are scored. And like, I agree with Jeff. He ain't going to keep that up. No, I wouldn't absolutely not be rushing back. And like Jeff said, he's only brought Bamford off because out of precaution that first half, isn't it? So he's absolutely fine to play.
He's been seen cleaning cars and Geldart's car, I think, and so he's obviously not that bad if he's doing that.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Captained himself this week, Bamford as well, bless him. Southampton, interesting, just with Aribo, like I can't believe he came into the game as a midfielder, because I'm pretty sure he was playing up top for the Rangers and quite a lot. And then he's coming as a midfielder at 5.5. And he just, I mean, I'm not going to say he's somebody that we should be jumping on, but just keep an eye on him because he's not a bad player. And then I was really impressed by Mara. Like, actually, he looked really good. But again, let's just keep an eye on these people. And we'll see how they get. Meslier, I think, will be really disappointed with Walker Peters' finish. Maybe a touch harsh on Meslier.
Oh, and whoever Jack Harrison, disgraceful. What is he doing for that finish? He kind of doesn't commit to do a slide and doesn't commit to just keep running. So he just does neither, and then just leaves them with an easy shot on target. Horrendous from Jack Harrison.
Wolves, Fulham, Wolves and Brighton are basically brothers, aren't they? Because they just do exactly the same thing. They create chances and can't score. Like as a Neto owner, I feel like Adama from last season. It's just like you surely we should. The one where if he'd have just shot first time, but the ball kind of bounced that tiny bit differently, and then he had to take a touch, so they got tackled. It was one of the most frustrating things to watch. They kept creating. So, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to rush to sell Neto, but they have got Spurs this week. So, yeah, I wouldn't be like getting really, really attached to them. Sell them if they're going to help improve your team. If you can afford to get Martinelli or whatever, like just get rid of him. But at the same time, like don't be like breaking your team to get rid of him. Fulham, for all those people that wildcarded in game week 1 and brought in Mitrovic, that must have been painful. And how he's not got sent off at the end, it's one of the most poor refereeing decisions I've ever seen in my life. Apparently, you can hack someone down and headbutt them and only get a yellow card. Like it's the refereeing quality. Honestly, I feel like Nigel Pearson has been absolutely dire. And VAR, honestly, no wonder Mike Dean's been given the weekend off. He's been awful.
Just a yellow for me.
Sure. Really?
Yeah. I think the tackle itself could be a red. It's a dangerous tackle. He's lunged in a bit. For me, when people square up to each other, come on, it's football. Move on.
Yeah, but
it's not absolutely nutted him, has he? Like proper,
but you say
like
that
Darwin style.
But the problem is that you say that, but the rules are the rules. Like I completely agree with you. I don't mind a little bit of that, but but the rules are the rules. I can't go head to head with someone. Head to head with someone's a yellow card. That's it.
He's raging after the penalty miss, isn't he? And he's just missed it. And he's just charged in and lost his head.
That's it. But we'll agree to disagree on that one, Scott. But that's football, isn't it? Everyone has their own opinion, and I like it. But yes, Fulham hard avoid still. Really, I think in general. Mitrovic, I wouldn't be rushing to bring him in. Don't go through it front with him and break your team. He'll get goals, but again, that's his consistency. And Pereira's got a knock, but nothing to be too worried about.
No, from other sources I've heard it was cramp, so he'll be absolutely fine.
Oh, been for a run.
That's from my Fulham sources.
We're definitely whipping out these sources. Scott, do you want to have a go at my team?
Terrible, mate. I mean, there's not too much can be said that hasn't been said by many pundits across the week. Absolutely toothless. Trying to play a brand of football that the players aren't good enough to play. David De Gea cannot play a ball out the back to save his life. He's putting people under pressure. And anyone that watched Monday Night Football with Gary Neville, well, it was actually Carragher's analysis. It was really eye-opening. There's no confidence whatsoever in them teams. Like he's playing it to Eriksen in an horrendous position. It doesn't matter if Brentford played well, but they could have played any football team in the top 5 divisions, and anyone that pressed would have had the same chances. It wasn't like Brentford were playing this amazing football. Don't get me wrong, the goal from the corner was an unbelievable goal, and Man United's not done too wrong in that. I mean, Maguire was sort of in a weird position, but unbelievable ball from Tony and a great finish from Mbeumo. But Man United just bringing it all on themselves. If you've got Man United defenders, take minus hits to sell your Man United defenders, right? They're going to get absolutely spanked by Liverpool at the weekend. I never thought it'd be so easy to captain a player against Man United ever, growing up as them being a dominant force in football. But for me, it's such an easy captaincy. And yeah, absolutely shocking, mate. I think you're in a relegation battle at the minute.
It feels that way. We've got just no confidence whatsoever in the team. I did get asked because I skipped over them last week so much just to like what I actually thought of United, and we're just they're shot from top to bottom. Whether it be from, Ten Hag got his tactics so wrong in that game. It was, that defeat is players and manager just really, but there's such a culmination of everything from the ownership down to the CEO from the last however many years Woodward was in charge, from all the recruitment he's done from the scouts to everything from that's why I've had different people say to me, it's the players that are disgraced. It's the ownership. It's just all of it.
It's everything, isn't it?
It's everything. Yeah, it's like, and one of the lads who's been involved in football for a long time said it doesn't matter about them. The players never meet the owners, they said to me. And I just saw red a little bit. And I'm like, but when the owners are not investing any money. If you went to work every day and the place you were working was falling down and the bogs didn't work, you wouldn't feel great about yourself, would you? Like it is the players. Get my horse here, but it is that. I mean, I know that they're football players and they're paid loads of money, blah blah blah. But that's not our reality. That's their reality. So they go if they can, yeah. If they're not enjoying going into work and the culture's terrible, the environment's rubbish, it doesn't matter how much you paid. When you're at the elite level of sport, you're at the top level. You look at Formula One drivers, and it's 0.1 of a second is the difference between being I think Bottas was like 0.4 of a second a lap slower than Hamilton on average, but that's the difference between 7 world championships and none. Like, it's the elite level. You've got to have everything right. And yeah.
Well, it's just everything in the club. You need to get rid of Ronaldo. You need to get rid of Ronaldo. He's so toxic at that football club now. He needs to go.
He's going to tell us in 2 weeks, Scott.
No, but that's him just been bigger than the club. Do you know what? If Alex Ferguson was at that club, not one player was ever bigger than the club. He sold Beckham, didn't he, to Real Madrid? He sold all these big players. Man United is at a point now where Ronaldo is bigger than the club because he can say what he wants, he can do what he wants, he can throw his arms up in the air. Like, I know Darwin Núñez will probably touch on it, he was an idiot, but my God, sometimes I bet you'd love to see one of your Man United players just like show that kind of passion and that kind of, willing, where to just throw their arms up in the air. Like, me, I back you up as a non-Leeds fan living in Leeds. I back you up with Man United because you get a lot of crap from our friends. But it is a joke, mate, now. They're horrendous.
Like I say, it's top to bottom. It's everything. Yeah. It's everything about from the club. Anybody that says it's just one thing, you're wrong.
I like what Rio Ferdinand said. Just play the kids. You're going to get beat by Liverpool, don't matter who you play. Just play the kids. I liked it. Who was that? Was that guy who came on and started fouling everyone against Liverpool last time?
Hannibal.
Yeah, play him.
But yeah, you've got to have people that play with passion and want to wear the badge, and you've also got to have a manager that doesn't play Fred and Eriksen in a 2. Just awful from Ten Hag. But second game, just got to learn. Anyway, yeah, top to bottom, rotten throughout. Let's move on. Sorry, we spent too long talking about Man United. Forest.
I would just say quickly on Brentford. I don't know what their fixtures are like. They've got quite good fixtures, haven't they?
Amazing for a while. Yeah.
I've completely lost my head there. So I've talked about United. Thank you, Scott.
No, I was just going to say, I think they've got a few assets that I quite like. Ivan Toney being one of them, and Buemo being another. Silva being another.
And Rico Henry as well, if you're getting someone at the back in terms of his statistics, and they are looking good if you want to put a cheaper defender in. Fixtures moving forward: Fulham away, Everton at home, Palace away, Leeds at home, Southampton away, and then Arsenal at home. So they've got really good fixtures, 3 till 7, and then obviously Arsenal's a tough one. So yeah, I completely agree. I'd be looking at players from Brentford at really good value to get them in to help make my team work. So
probably the 4 of the 5 worst defences in the whole league there in the next 5.
Yeah, I'd say. Yeah, well, and they've just played the worst. So yeah.
How much is Tony?
7.71 or 7.2? Is he 7.2 now?
7.1. Yeah.
I'm sure he'll go up to 7.2 tonight or tomorrow probably. But he 7.1.
It's a tricky one, that, isn't
it?
Yeah.
I always said at 6.5 at the beginning of the season it'd been great value, and now actually at 7.1 he's not looking too bad. Yes, but thank you for bringing me back down to earth there, Scott, and we can have to mention Brentford because I'm too irate about the fact that people didn't even bother running around in that game. It was just infuriating. Forest.
Also, just say last thing really quickly, fair play to him to get him in the next day. Fair enough. He got him in the next day, didn't he, running?
Well, I heard that on Match of the Day too. They were like, "Oh, well, that would make me feel good." And Jermaine Genius was like, "I want to see my own running stats," and I would. Well, then you're arrogant, Jermaine Genius, and you wouldn't fit in there either, would you? You complete idiot.
Genius by name, genius by nature.
Wow, do you know what? If he knew how to manage a club, he wouldn't be sat on Match of the Day too. So, what did you make of the Forest West Ham game, anyway, Scott?
Wow, what a game of football! I mean, West Ham could still be playing now. And they wouldn't score because it was just one of those games. It was, I think I put it in one of our group chats. Like, I always fancied Forest. For me, Forest are always winning that game. First game back in the Premier League. a really good historic football ground, the City ground to go back to. Not been in the Premier League for 20 odd years, always winning it. It was just amazing how they went about winning it. The goal itself was a a really weak miss hit from Jesse Lingard that just hits Onwani, I can't say his name, and goes in.
Yeah.
And then Dean Henderson, just to rub salt into your Man United fans' wounds a little bit more, has an unbelievable game, saves the penalty, which we called Declan Rice. I don't know why Declan Rice is on pens. He's missed 2 from 3 now, is it, in the Premier League?
Never again.
But yeah, Forest looked good. Don't get me wrong, West Ham looked pretty good attacking wise. Just couldn't score. Could they? Ben Rama looked pretty good, I must say, for West Ham. He impressed me quite a bit that game.
He did, and they're holds West Ham players. Don't worry about them. They're too much. That's such a free game. And yeah, Williams a gift at 4.0 definitely. Getting forward, he had the most touches out of everyone else, and I think did he have the most shots or something out of all the West Ham of the Forest players.
Free kicks, corners, he was taking them as well.
He was got a bonus, didn't he? Yeah. Everyone's annoyed at that 7 points sitting on the bench.
Yeah, but everyone's got it. It's fine. We're all in this together. Some people have Dina on starting. The guy got 104 points. I bet even Bikar is annoyed at getting 104 points, but he played Dina over Williams. But anyway, could have been 112, mate. Could have been 112. 7,000th in the world that game week. I wonder what it would have been at 112 points.
I wonder what it was for the Americans. Must have been up there for them.
True. Should have looked. Chelsea against Spurs. Now, again, I wish I'd have seen this sort of passion from United instead of Ten Hag sitting there at the water break, just basically forgetting there was one. Like Thomas Frank's out with his tactics board, being like, right, how can we get more than 2 goals in this game? And anyway, please talk about Chelsea Spurs, Scott.
Chelsea Spurs, yeah. Wow, what a game of football. A bit of a throwback, wasn't it? They were saying it in the commentary, like Spurs Arsenal is one that, Spurs fans and Arsenal fans want to win, but this one's always, a bit feisty, isn't it? Yeah, let's be honest. You can look at those and say 2-2. Oh, yeah, probably a pretty even game. No, Chelsea absolutely deserve to win. Tuchel's come out on top there. It's just, couldn't get the added goals when they were on top in the game. And yeah, never say die attitude from Spurs. I thought the tactical changes that Conte did were really good second half. I thought Perisic made a difference when he come on. It'll be very, very interesting. I'm going to hold Perisic. I think he's starting next game now. I thought he made a big difference when he came on and shored things up, and his delivery was pretty spot on. Obviously, got the assist for Kane's goal at the end. But Chelsea were impressive. Again, I thought Reece James looked really good. Sort of rewarded those Reece James owners there with some good points. Koulibaly with an unbelievable finish. Don't know how he spanked that one in. But yeah, interesting game. I think Chelsea would be, much happier performance-wise, but obviously results-wise and how the game ended. Spurs will be sort of carrying that momentum through.
Who, Jeff and Scott, like from your perspective, who would you be investing in right now? Chelsea have got a decent run of fixtures. If you were looking at Chelsea, I think Reece James and Cucurella, judging by the comments in the week from Tuchel about Chilwell saying that he's not up to speed at the moment and Cucurella is basically going to play. Outside of James and Cucurella, who would you be looking at from more of a midfield and forward option from Chelsea?
It's a bit tough, isn't it? But I thought Mason Mount played well in that game, but just wasn't not FPL wise. But I think he was asked to do a job, and he did a really good job. And then when you look at his stats from last season, he was a real flat track bully. And Leeds, he always scores against Leeds. That's next. And I think the next few opponents he scored against the last couple of seasons. So he's always and he's the cheaper option. Then Havertz as well had a lot of chances in that game. It just didn't. I wouldn't go there. I've been there before and I didn't like it. But he had the chances. That one where it was like a cross from Reece James, and it was a really good chance. He should have buried that. And then Sterling's just a bit too much to get in for me. But I don't know. It could be a good option, but not so sure yet. 10 million's worth it.
Yeah, going on the eye test is going to be totally against what I've just read on the stats there. But I thought Ruben Loftus-Cheek looked really, really good on the eye. He get himself getting into some dangerous pockets. I actually thought he was pushed further forward than Mason Mount, like Jeff said. And they said it in commentary. You can tell why he plays for England. He just does a job for any manager, what he has to. But yeah, they were playing. I quite enjoyed listening to the tactics. So when they had the ball, when they didn't have the ball, Ruben Loftus-Cheek was sort of dropping into like a back five, like that kind of. And then when he had it, it was that kind of attack, right-handed, sided attacking player. So I thought he's really impressive. Actually, I thought he's got a career was dead and buried like a season or so ago, but. Good player. He's showed good potential, hasn't he, for a number of years? And I know he went out on loan. Was it Fulham a few years ago or something like that? And looked really good. And I wouldn't be jumping on him, but sitting in that 5 million bracket there, when we talk about £5 million midfielders, it's one just to keep an eye on, especially if he plays week in, week out.
He's had 115 minutes already, so he's featured in both games. I think this is one of the things was trying to get at with the question, really, is that the affordable Chelsea midfielder, which is Mason Mount, his statistics haven't been great in terms of from an FPL perspective. He's been fantastic for Chelsea. You're never going to bring in Havertz over Haaland, Jesus. I was going to say Darwin then, but never mind. But even Ivan Toney, like you're not going to bring him in over those guys. So Sterling's really expensive. You've kind of got to rip up your team unless you want to sell someone like Salah or De Bruyne or Son or whatever. Then you can't really get Sterling in. So it's kind of the James Cucurella, and then maybe if you wanted to again go for someone a little bit out there, if you want to stick him in your midfield with Sully March, go for Ruben Loftus-Cheek. You know, there's somebody there who could potentially offer great value at 5 million, but you know, at the same time, his expected goal involvement's 0.2 out of the first 2 games. He's going to score 1 in every 10 games. You know, whatever. But yeah, I completely agree with you, Scott. I thought it was just an interesting take on it. And when you talk about Spurs and Perisic starting, again, Sessegnon's been one of the top performing players in terms of the statistics. But I completely agree when you look at the game again, Perisic made such a massive impact. His experience helped a lot in that match. So yeah, I think Perisic will get his run in the team. We've got him in the pod team. I think we hold him as well, personally. Yeah. The pod team's on its way back. We've got a green arrow this week, so everyone's surprised. And we're going to get another one this week. I have a good feeling about it. We're going to round off our review. I had a couple of questions about Liverpool as well, so I'll throw these in after if you don't cover them, Geoff, already. But Liverpool, with only 2 points more than Man United this season, with a 1-1 draw at Palace. What do you make of the Monday Night Football, Jeffers?
I thought Liverpool started really well. They started really positively. We're battering Palace. Obviously, I was sat there, Trent Robbo in my team, and I was thinking, oh yeah, come on, rub my hands together, clean sheets coming. They hadn't laid a glove on them. And Darwin had missed a couple of really good chances. He'd fallen over on a one-on-one and at the back post skied it. And then, yeah, it was just a brilliant counter by Palace. I think it might have been the first shot. Keeper went to Eze. Eze does a bit of skill. Great through ball to Zaha. They tried to do the offside trap, and yeah, Zaha was through, and it's just one of those. Then Anderson's pestering Darwin all game, and then he loses his head and sees red and gets the red card. And then yeah, it was from there. It was really hard for Liverpool. I thought they were forcing it a bit, but Diaz then came. I thought Diaz was poor initially, but then he got really good when they went down to 10 men. The goal was amazing. Just yeah, where did that come from? Just took on a load of men, and then he was doing something similar a few minutes later. He was just doing some turns on the edge of the box. And I was like, bloody hell, he's fighting for it here. But they just couldn't get it over. Trent as well, I thought was really good in that first half. The balls that he was playing, the through balls, the crosses, he was doing really good stuff. So I thought they were unlucky. I thought they played really well. I'm not too worried. Missing a bit in the defence with Nat Phillips, but then yeah, apart from that, I thought they played really well.
How do Liverpool set up then? Like, because Firmino's he's injured, and so is Jota.
I think he's back.
Firmino
I think he's coming back. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was going to say because Carvalho potentially was somebody who might end up playing, but if he's going to be back, then that's fine. I completely agree with you about Diaz. I was actually like, oh, well, for the pod team, we're probably going to sell him because he's just not working well. This, that, and the other.
Yeah.
Went down to 10 men, and it was sort of like someone stuck a rocket up him, and he was just like, oh, do you know what? I've got freedom now. I can run everywhere, and scored a worldie.
It's unbelievable. He was kicking balls out of play before that. Man.
Yeah, weird. It was an odd one, but it kind of cemented him as a better option than Robbo, which, if you'd have asked me after 50 minutes, I'd have said something different, I think.
Yeah.
And from the man who had the game on in the background with the sun screaming in his face, but that's what I could make of the game anyway. Palace, Any other takeaways about them? Eze, Zaha, obviously Anderson. These guys seem half decent value.
Just the fixtures, but Zaha can score against anyone. But if I was going Zaha, I'd probably just pay slightly more and get someone like Diaz or Kulusevski or someone like that, just because I don't know who they've got, but I think it's Villa and they got Man City.
Villa, Man City, Brentford.
They're not too bad after that, but yeah. But yeah, I think I'd probably pay a little bit more for someone else, but I like him as a player.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think because Palace have been on TV both fixtures, so seeing Zaha play 2 full games of football, it really impressed me. Eze should have tucked one of his assists away in the first game of the season. He had about 4 shots on target against Liverpool. A heavy touch would have been, one-on-one and an easy chance with Alisson. He could have easily had a couple of goals against Liverpool quite easily. I think did he play one in he missed one right, an open goal essentially, didn't he? Was that him or was that Eze? Anyway, I've actually been really impressed by Zaha. I think he started the season really well. I think he plays with this confidence. Well, no, he doesn't need much more confidence, but under Vieira loves him, and that showed. I think he said he's going to be in the Premier League Hall of Fame, which I think is a bit outrageous, but
yes, a little bit outrageous. But
I think he's played really well. And if Eze could finish his dinner, he'd certainly have probably a couple of assists. I think he's, like Geoff said, tough fixtures, but potentially one to keep an eye on, as he always is. He's impressed me.
Their fixtures, I think, was it game week 8 they changed? Yeah, they're not in game week 8. He's the sort of player you'd be interested looking at for, Brighton, difficult game, obviously, then Chelsea, but whatever, if you want to look at the wild card time, Chelsea game week 9's tough. But then they have got Leeds, they've got Leeds, Leicester, Wolves, Everton, Southampton, West Ham, Nottingham Forest up to the World Cup.
I think that red's a bit misleading for Leicester as well, isn't it? Away, like they're leaking, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I look at game weeks 10 through 16 when the World Cup happens. 16 ends, isn't it? 16 ends before the World Cup. But then they come back in game week 17. They've got Fulham at home. I look at them as one of those teams that have quite a decent fixture swing. So yeah, I wouldn't be looking at them now, but they're players that I would be keeping an eye on for potential wildcards in game week 8, game week 9 transfers. I think they're interesting. And a couple of questions about Liverpool. I'll throw these to you. Triple captain Salah against Man United. That's actually one got thrown at me. No,
it's not it's not honestly not the worst shout.
It's really not, is it?
Um,
We bagged in 50 points against them last season. Yeah, in 2 games.
It's not the worst shout. I mean, they're going to have. I think I heard. I'm just listening to something else, and I heard that City have got like a double problem later on in the season, which is like Bournemouth and Fulham. But yeah, someone do it. Loads of people do it out there, I think, in the community, won't they?
You got to look at form, haven't you? And at the end of the day, if we don't get to a back 5, and then I just
Liverpool get an early goal in that game, that crowd turn massively, and it's going to be a toxic Monday night in Manchester.
And the stadium that's falling down. Yes. So no for me, but why not if people want to? A serious question came in from David Byrne, actually, sent this one in. If Salah blanks against Man United, do you think he's the premium sacrifice? And I find it difficult because Salah's always going to do your returns across the season. But he says, is it time to sell Salah if he blanks against United? What do you think?
I think
I wouldn't. Sorry, Sky.
No, you go, mate. You go.
I was going to say I wouldn't sell him before Bournemouth because I know that'd backfire badly. But then if he blanks against Bournemouth, I'd think he maybe look at KDB. I think he plays Nottingham Forest after that. So I'd think, you know what? Maybe it's not. Maybe Salah's not in form. I'll go KDB. But I wouldn't never get rid of him before Bournemouth.
I think when you've got a premium player and they're not returning, it's so important that you use that eye test that we always bang on about. Because yes, it's like you could have looked at Jesus in week 1. Oh, he's not scored. He's not assisted. I'm getting him out. Well, no, he was fantastic. He did everything but score or assist that game. So what is Salah looking like? Is he putting chances on a plate for players? Is he getting himself on the ball? Is he making things happen? If he is, absolutely keep him in because it's a matter of time before he gets a hat-trick. If he's not getting involved as much as he was, and potentially Firmino's not back, he's not got Mane to make those runs in. Is he not linking up with Nunez? Absolutely, in this, a bit of a slow start in Liverpool team, you could easily, because you could just, if you've not got KDB, bring KDB in for him. it's a bit of a no-brainer there. But as we all know, Salah's been top scorer for the last 3 seasons in fantasy football.
Yeah,
there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said there. Never ever am I selling him, even if he blanks against Man United before Bournemouth at home. And then after then, yeah, I mean, potentially, because there's a really good variety of captaincy options. I mean, when you look at the City fixtures, for an example, they've got Forest, and then they've got Villa, Spurs and Wolves, but Wolves still you can captain against them as a team. Even when you're looking at Spurs, they've got Fulham at home game week 6. If you wanted to captain in that game week, there are a variety of captaincy options. Jesus has got Everton at home in game week 7, Brentford away in game week 8. He's got Fulham at home in game week 4. There's a variety of captain, and that's the thing about premiums. If you aren't going to captain them, then you can get those sort of points elsewhere normally. So never before Bournemouth, but we'll see. Final discussion point before we move on to next week. I had quite an interesting question, which is kind of similar to that in theme, but it came in with, especially at the beginning of the season. I think we'll put this into context. How long, I'll put this to you, Geoff, first. How long do you give players before you feel like it's time for a change in your team? How long do you give a player?
I think it really does vary. Like Salah, I'll probably have a little bit more wiggle room. I think, he's looking sharp. I guess how they look, really. Rashford, he's on the chopping block for me. I really don't want him. 2 weeks, that's enough. I've seen enough. I want him gone. But then I think Salah's blanched against Crystal Palace, but I thought he looked all right and he was involved. So just, I think, really keep an eye on it. And it can't really set one rule, but just how they're playing and how they look and what's going on with the team as well. And if there's a problem with the team. So it could go anything from 1 week. If I brought someone in and I thought, oh no, they've been moved back to wing back, I might take them out straight away, or I could keep someone for 10 weeks. I think they're going to get some points soon. So not sitting on the fence, but depends.
No, when you say it depends on history, pedigree, and also if there's any issues with your own fantasy team. If they're hindering you getting a couple of other players that are in massive form and they're not delivering, then you can move them on a bit earlier than when you maybe thought you would, to be able to get, for example, someone like Saka out to be able to afford a Martinelli and another player that's performing at that sort of level. I was going to say Rodrigo. I mean, we've just said not really to buy him, but for an example, if you wanted to do that, Scott, your take on
Yeah, I think it's a tough one, because you've got your more expensive players. For me, I do give them the time, just because there's not that many other more expensive players out there, and B, if I'm going from a Salah to a Man City player, I've probably already got 3 Man City players. So, and then you've got to look at the pool of players. So again, I'm not rushing out to get my cheap options either, because they're my bench fodder. So for me, it falls into that £8 million. The players that I look at probably turning over the quickest is that £8 million bracket, because you've got a big pool of players that you can jump on. You're likely probably not to already have 3 of them in your team, so you can sort of having that movement about. And they're the players which everyone's not got. So they're the ones that if you're Bowen last season, your Ben Rama last season's on form, you want to jump on them when they're hot, because they're not going to stay hot all season like your premiums, but they will come in and out of form. So that's how I look at it.
I completely agree. Martinelli, for an example, is that player at the moment in that bracket. If you can get to him, get on him, because he's performing well. They've got great fixtures, but Martinelli won't deliver all season. He'll probably go a little bit hot and cold. There'll be probably a little bit of rotation in the Arsenal team, etc., when they're in Europe. And yeah, I agree. And also, it's like you say, you bring in a Josh De Silva this week, and he ends up getting benched in 2 weeks' time for Damsgaard and never delivers again for you. You're going to look at your team when you go to wildcard, and there's just going to be a De Silva-shaped player on your bench, and you're going to be like, because you're just not going to bother with him, because he's not affecting the rest of your fantasy team if he's 4.7. Like, he is holding maybe 0.2's worth of value that you could put in Pereira, but that's about it. So yeah, it's an interesting question, and I think hopefully we've covered that one off for you to have a bit of an insight. So let's move on to having a look at I had the Premier League table up there. I was looking at it earlier. To game week 3, so Saturday deadline, Saturday the 20th of August at 11 a.m. before the early kickoff. Spurs against Wolves. Don't captain Kane or Son. That's our rule on the podcast. Do not captain the early kickoff. Palace Forest, Everton, Palace Villa, Everton Forest, Fulham Brentford, Leicester Southampton. So some good mid-table clashes within that, that's for sure. And then Arsenal are playing Bournemouth live on Sky on the evening there. at Bournemouth. I'm interested by that game actually from a Jesus perspective. It has to be said. Leeds Chelsea live on Sky at Ellen Road. Interesting one. Players like James Cucurella, whatever, and like suggests Mason Mount. West Ham Brighton. Anything can happen in that game, I think, potentially. Newcastle Man City. Newcastle looking decent. City away, and then Man United Liverpool Monday Night Football. So captaincy options this week, lads. Looking at potentially Arsenal, City, and Liverpool. Would you have thought?
Salah or Jesus. If Man United were not even as half as bad as what they've been, I would be saying Jesus. But my captaincy would be going on Mo Salah.
Salah captaincy. I think I'll probably be doing the same, only because it'll make it less painful when he scores many, many goals past my horrendously performing team that I support.
Newcastle, Man City, neither team's conceded yet. That'll be quite interesting.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they're the only two teams in the league that haven't conceded a goal, I think, when I was looking at the table. Do you know what? Let's look at the Premier League table. Goals against. Correct. Two teams that haven't conceded a goal yet this season. Geoff, your thoughts on captaincy?
Probably Salah as well. I was thinking about it, and I was thinking how I can't see how Man U can play in that game. I don't know how they can get the ball forward, how they can beat Liverpool's press. I just can't see it. I think that they'll run rampant.
We don't win. We try to keep it to 2 or 3. But
I don't know if you can do that. I don't even know if you can contain anymore. Like when Solskjaer was at least, you had like Van Bissau, you sat deep. But you haven't got that in you anymore. So I don't know. I just can't see how you can possibly keep them out.
Football's a funny game, though, mate. You might win.
I know. 1-0.
I'll tell you what.
1-0. Harry Maguire last minute.
Can you imagine Maguire and then he does the shush?
Yeah. In the ears as well.
I'd rate that so much because what an idiot! Like he just looked like a complete idiot.
Well, you never know. Like you never know if you get a win. This takeover talk might be coming. If that gathers speed, you get a win. What a difference that could be to the whole club.
It's just my final point on this is like obviously like the interest payments and all this sort of stuff, and just no money's been invested into the stuff that actually matters to help a culture of a club, like a culture of a business where anyone works for such a long period of time. You can throw £1.25 billion at players at quick fixes and pay them loads of money, but if you don't back your manager and all this sort of stuff, anyway, whatever. Yeah,
could be worse. You could be looking at National League North, mate.
You could be, yeah. At least you've got some points though, Scotty. And you're on telly. How exciting for Scunthorpe United this season. So that's fun. So yes, thank you very much, everyone, for joining me this week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channels, and also follow us on our social media platforms. On Football Pod, on Football P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Geoff, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule to join us there. Hope you enjoyed yourself.
Thank you. It was lovely. Great joining you.
Thank you, and Scott, thank you very much once again for showing up and making the effort, and really showing Tom.
I also thought it was lovely.
I enjoyed it too.
Brilliant words from Geoff, as always.
Thanks, and sorry to all the viewers for me getting thrown off by my United chat. I've really tried hard not to spend 20 minutes telling everyone how bad it all is. So, yes, thank you very much for listening. Good luck. Remember the deadline, 11 a.m. Saturday, the 20th of August. And look forward to speaking to you all next week. Bye for now.